Hello, welcome. Good to see each of you. Announcement that we'll be having our next retreat, which will be focusing on awakening to divine strength. And that will be at the end of this month, August 25th through the 27th, online. And so I hope you can join us. I see a couple of new faces in the room, so welcome and welcome to you. It's nice to have you here, truly. And I also want to acknowledge I've been getting so many emails about another in-person retreat, and such a special thing to come together in this way. So I'm working on it. It's going to take me some time, but it'll be in the winter sometime. So, but in the meantime, we'll have plenty of online retreats that I hope you can be a part of. And a big part of this group is meeting in a consistent way. And when we meet together weekly, some of us meet 3 times a week, it creates this depth of connection with the teachings. That's whether this is your first time here or 100th time. Again, let me truly welcome you from my heart to yours into this space. Okay. When I was on retreat, I was telling the people on the retreat, well, if you have any feedback for me, please offer some feedback. And Don offered some feedback, and he said, Craig, you often speak about the mind in this very negative way. And this is a little bit a part of the non-dual tradition, which is this teaching of neti. And basically, the teaching, we kind of look at what we are not. We look at what is false within us. And the idea is, if you can discern that which is false, well, then you can also ask this other type of question. Well, what is true? What is true about me? And sometimes, if we try to do anything in life, and let's say, for example, our workspace is a mess, very hard to get any work done. When I was with my teacher, we were always building something. And in the shop, like we had a shop, and we'd go in there, and we had so many different tools because we built everything, again, from like the excavation to the paint, everything in between in the building process. We built it. And, when you work in this way, you have lots of tools, and there's lots of sawdust, and there's lots of, materials and scraps and this type of thing. And if you walk into a shop that has too much stuff in it, it's very hard to focus. It's very hard to think like, okay, what am I doing? But if the workspace is completely cleared away, it's much easier to work. And the teachings on neti, the teachings on awakening to your divine mind are very similar. First, we need to clear away the confusion and the chaos of our mind. Now, I'll say this, and this will sound a little harsh, but the majority of contents of what's floating around in people's consciousness is it's just a bunch of nonsense. And I can remember, even seeing this as a child, I can say a child, I think a 14-year-old might still be a child, but I remember being, like 14 years old, and I had a girlfriend, and she broke up with me. My mind just started spinning chaos. It's like chaos after chaos, like one chaotic, nonsensical thought after the next. It was all revolving around, I have to get her back. My life is over. I'll never love again. It's just like silliness, absolute silliness. And we all know this. Like when any kind of disaster goes through our life, whether it's we lose our job, we lose a relationship, of course, if somebody dies or we don't get into the school. I was working with someone last year and they wanted to get into this graduate school and they did not. And their mind just started spinning, just spinning. I didn't get into school. I have failed. And so often when I teach about the mind, it has a negative tone. Just there's this sense that there's this egoic mind. It's full of just a bunch of nonsense. What the Buddha called it was conditioning. It's just conditioned thoughts from the past. It's your education, it's your culture, it's the culture, it's the internet. Like the internet is now in our mind and all that. Like we've been so brainwashed with media, like news media, and it's just crazy how much stuff is in our mind. And then we have these great forces in our mind, primary forces of being a defense structure. And then we have like a very protective, critical nature in our mind. But when we step into divine mind, I'll say it differently. In order to step into divine mind, we have to be willing first to see through all of this stuff and just say, like, none of this is what I am. None of this is the truth. These are my father's thoughts, my mother's thoughts, my culture's thoughts, this animal fight or flight system thoughts. These are my emotional attachment thoughts. A lot of people were telling me last year, they're like, I'm studying my attachment type and I am anxious attached, or whatever it is. I used to know them all and could rattle them off, but I'm avoidant, attachment type. And it's just like, and so again, these are just programs of the mind. And part of the direct path is just to see, to look at this mind, and in a sense, just to wipe it away. And there'd be this time when I'd be with my teacher and we'd go into the shop, it'd be a total mess. We'd have tools everywhere, sawdust everywhere. And he'd be like, Craig, clean this up, put everything away, sweep it all out. Just like, let's get some workspace. Let's get some workspace here. The workbench has 35 different tools on it and sawdust and, parts of broken tools. It's just like, it's a disaster. You can't think, you can't focus, you can't build anything, you can't create. So Don was saying, Craig, you always talk about the mind in this really negative way. And so tonight I'd like to speak about the mind in a very positive mind. Like, what is the divine mind? What are the, and that's not one thing, of course. What are the qualities of the divine mind? Now, again, to step into this space, first, we need to see clearly that all these thoughts that are busy just running habitually are not the truth, and not the truth. And so I want us just to imagine, we can all close our eyes just for a moment. And as we just sit here together, I invite you to notice the contents of your mind. So we're just going to take a moment here and just to look. What is in the forefront of my consciousness? Like, what is here right now? And so in this moment, we should notice two things. We should notice a spaciousness and a silence. This is the context of your mind. If you're awake and aware and you're trained in this type of practice, you'll notice a spaciousness here, a silence, a quiet and innocent clarity and openness. And this is actually the fabric of your mind. And from this awake awareness, let's look at the contents of our mind. Can you find some thoughts that are spinning? Some conditioned thoughts, like what are your conditioned thoughts? If you just breathe and you allow yourself to be deeply curious and honest, what's spinning in the background? I'm the best, I'm the worst, I know this already. Oh, this is new. What is he talking about? Maybe we're thinking about our day, thinking about our lover, how much they upset us, how much we love them. We might have our to-do list. And again, if we just sit here in a space of silence, what arises? What arises? And what is it that's noticing that which arises? What is it that notices? What is it that is awake and aware and clear in this moment? And so I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath. And we've been curious about the contents of our mind. We've seen that. We probably all know this. Like, oh yeah, these are my normal habitual thoughts. And again, let's not have any judgment towards those. But let's take a deep breath. And I invite us to walk in the direction of the context of your mind. That which is awake, that which is aware. And can you feel the truth of your mind? Can you experience the truth of your mind? And so you may notice a subtle brilliancy, a sharp yet spacious clarity, you may notice an openness and a gentle curiosity, almost like a playfulness of the mind. You may notice a supreme state of silence, of purity. Like some of us, because we just feel into the very nature of the mind, not the nature of thought, the nature of the mind. And I want you just to feel the difference for a moment. You can pick up a thought and just feel into the nature of a thought. And just notice, well, what is that like? The nature of a thought, any thought. And then I invite you to feel to the direct nature of your mind, that which witnesses, that which sees, that which is awake and aware. What is that like? What is that like? And can you join me right now? Like I'm feeling it's like a supreme brilliance. So see if you can find that in your consciousness, in your experience. It's like an emptiness that is awake and aware. And again, it has like a radiance to it, a fire, if you can feel that. If you can feel that. And so again, we're just playing here with this inquiry. What is the direct experience of my true mind? And then what is the direct experience of the thoughts in my mind? And again, those are two different things. And so as we sit here together in this way, I'm going to invite you just to play with this question. What is the truth? What is the truth of my being? And if you just ask this question, just feel into this question, what is the truth? What is the truth of what I am? What is the truth of this moment? What is the truth of my life going forward? What's the truth of my life going forward? Now, in these last round of questions, you may begin to notice that an answer is coming, an intelligence is coming, it's beginning to flow through you. And it's different than a habitual, conditioned, mental intelligence. If we ask again, like, what is the truth of my being? You might find something deeper lighting up within you, a luminosity, a radiance. You might receive a vision of your truth, of your true nature. And again, the invitation here, as we play this game, as we contemplate, well, what is my mind? Am I a collection of insecure thoughts? Am I a collection of habitual thoughts, conditioned thoughts? Or is there something greater here? And so we can all open our eyes if you like. And the thing that we begin to discover on this path of awakening to our divine mind is that there is this whole other realm of intelligence that is open to us, this whole other realm of experience that is open to us if we're willing to first be silent. And within this silence, if we're willing to let go of the past, of what we've known ourselves to be, and if we're willing to let go of our conditioned thoughts or personality, and just see, like, what if I just let that go? And we can even imagine just taking a broom and almost like sweeping this away. It's like sweeping away our thoughts, sweeping away our personality, sweeping away our conditioning. And as we do so, choosing to step into a different type of mind, choosing to open to a divine mind, a divine mind. And so, again, this started off with an email I received from Don where he was saying, Craig, you talk about the mind in such a negative way, that the mind's just made up of, these forces of the critic, or, this negative voice in our mind. And excuse me, for some of us, like, that occupies 50% of our bandwidth. And then it's just like a bunch of other conditioned thoughts, and then some little thoughts arising out of our personality. And there might be little bits of creativity or goodness or positivity or some kind of spiritual morality in there, or this or that, or just, our personality playing itself out. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to be clear. There's nothing wrong with that. But the reason I speak often about the mind in a negative way is because there is something that's much, much greater that's available to us if we like. Now, the cost of admission into this new realm is first a willingness to be silent. And again, like most of us practice this in meditation. And I don't care if it's walking meditation, I don't care if it's seated meditation, anytime in silence. And while we're in silence, like we could be in silence and just thinking, but then it's not really being silent. We're just not making any noise, and we're just paying attention to our thoughts. But ideally, when you're in that silence, we gently sweep away that which is old and dead and false and in the past. And we step into something new, something fresh. And in order to do this, often we need to have a prayer-like attitude, a humility. And this humility just has a gentle openness, a receptivity. And when we have this receptivity, there's a new mind that begins to come forward. And we discover that often it comes with a fiery brilliance and clarity, a radiance and a heat. And yet at the same time, it's really empty. And a lot of people, when they first begin stepping into this realm, get very nervous, even become anxious. Because sometimes we can feel very disoriented. We can feel, like in Zen, there's a saying, we can become drunk on emptiness. Or we just kind of become like this floating thing that has really no direction. And you see a lot of spiritual people do this. They're just kind of like floating. There's no direction, but, they're not in the busyness of their mind. They're not, all stuck in some political fight on Twitter like their neighbor might be. There's a sense of freedom and spaciousness, but it can be very ungrounded. And a great grounding question, like as we begin to open into this realm, is what is the truth? What is the truth? And so when we allow the mind, the divine mind, first to be opened and then anchored with a question like, well, what is the truth? We might find that no longer are we drunk on emptiness. Now, I will say a lot of people, as soon as they get drunk on emptiness and they open up to spaciousness and they say, oh my God, how am I going to function? Oh my God, I won't be able to function. Then immediately they go back to that old thinking mind, their old personality. And some people are addicted to their personality. They're addicted to their drama. They are addicted to their Enneagram type. Whether it's sleepiness or fighting or being special, or I'm the one who suffers the most. And again, we see this all the time in life. We see this on the path. We see this in the Sangha. We see this in each other. We see it in ourselves. That I'm addicted to my own drama. I'm so utterly addicted to my own drama. I can't go into silence because who would I be without my drama? Like, who would I be? Who would I be without my clinginess and my neediness? And as you step into the divine mind, as you step into the silence, you might have to face your clinginess and your neediness. And if you continue to let it burn in the clarity of that which is awake and that which is aware, you begin to see, oh, that's not me. I'm not this needy, clingy, insecure being. That is what your personality is. And don't take that personally. That's what everyone's personality is. At the heart of every personality, at the root of every personality, at the root of almost literally every thought is insecurity. Now, people take great offense to this type of teaching. People might even call it negative. Say, no, that sounds kind of negative. Is it true, Craig, that every thought I have is insecure? Well, I invite you to look into yourself and see. See what is there. Now, I will say this, I'll stand behind this teaching as a fundamental truth, because every thought, if it arises out of conditioning, if it arises out of the past, if it arises out of your personality, all of these thoughts, all of this conditioning is arising out of a mask. And masks don't have any depth. They're shallow. They're empty. They are inherently empty. Our personality is inherently a shell. It is empty. At its core, there is nothing there. And so there's this fundamental insecurity in that because it knows there's nothing here. And because it knows there's nothing here, it's always grasping and it's trying to cling to an identity. It's trying to get an identity and to fill itself back up. I need to fill it myself up with, I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I'm the Green Party. I am whatever. I need to fill myself up with some kind of identity. Now, if we try that, we just become like a teenager, where we try on new identities. I can remember when I was a teenager, I did something very funny. I was digging through my father's closet, and he liked motorcycles. And he had a pair of like leather motorcycle pants. I was like, hey, Dad, can I wear these to school one day? Like I dressed up like Jim Morrison, like I had this long, curly dreadlock hairdo, and I probably wore some tie-dye shirt of some sort. And I was a vegan, and I was wearing these leather pants, and some kid was like, how can you be a vegan and you wearing these leather pants? It's just like, I was mixing up two identities. It's like I was trying on too many identities at the same time. And the next day I'd wear camo pants, and the next day I'd wear skateboard pants. And it's like trying on too many identities. And that's what we do. Like when we're a teenager, we're trying to figure out our identity. Now, these are all external identities, and we try to take these and stuff them into our mask to create a sense of weight, to create a sense of solidity, so that we no longer feel insecure. It's like if I know that I'm a Republican, that I'm crystal clear about who and what I am, I don't have to think, I don't have to be insecure. I know what is right and what is wrong. I know Nancy Pelosi is a terrible human being, and she's the worst because I'm a Republican and I know that. And I know who I hate and who I like. And my God, if we're a Democrat, we have to hate Mr. Trump. We have to hate him with just intense amount of anguish anytime we see his face. Everything he says is a lie. We have to lose our mind. But at the same time, like we feel like we're keeping our mind because we're like, I'm secure because I know who I don't like, who I do like, who's on my team, who's not on my team. Can I fill my identity? Now I'm inviting you to do something crazy, to get out the divine eraser and erase all identities. To look at that. And we erase it with the truth. We look at that all and we say, no, that's all conditioning. That's the internet. That's modern day politics. I am not politics. What am I directly? I'm not my conditioning. Oh, there is this inner brilliance that is here. Oh, there's this vast spaciousness which is here all the time. All the time. All the time. It's even here when we're busy in the past trying on all these identities. We're trying to be a good Democrat, trying to be a good Republican, trying to be a Ralph Nader party. I don't know if anyone remembers Ralph. I don't know if he's still around, but we're trying to be the Green Party. The space is actually allowing for all that, by the way. But the thing that we forget is because we're too busy attaching to these very loud identities, is there is a very quiet yet profound identity in the background. And the identity I'm inviting us to step into in this moment, to realize, to remember, is that there is something here that is very innocent, very pure, and brilliant, and clear, and empty. And this is what the divine mind is. And the ego says, but how will I think? How will I think? And what if we played the game? Well, ego, what if you don't think? What if you don't think? It says, oh, no, no, no. How are we going to function? We won't pay our bills. And then the invitation is, well, is there something deeper within me that can function, that can pay the bills, that can do our job, that can do our job? And when I was with my teacher and we would work, often throughout the day, we would spend many hours not speaking at all, not speaking. Not speaking. And yet lots of work got done. Often I would just follow in my teacher's footsteps. But he wouldn't have to say anything to me. We'd walk over in the direction of a pile of wood. I would pick up the 2x4s or 2x6s or 2x8s or whatever they were. I would carry them up the hill. And we begin to work on building a temple together. And we would hammer, we would nail. And sometimes I would just reach out, for a tool, and he'd hand me the saw. And it just arose in silence. The building happened in silence. Very little was spoken between us. Very little. And it was quite beautiful when we were working in this very intimate way. And then when he was teaching, again, he would sit down in silence. And this divine intelligence would begin to pour through him. And he would start to speak about my life, about the intimate details of my life. And I hadn't told him the intimate details of my life. He would just start speaking about it and addressing my problems, my concerns, my dramas, my confusion. I would have all these questions and he would answer the questions. But I wouldn't raise my hand and say, hey, I'm on Zoom. I want to raise my hand and ask the question now. He would just answer it. And I began to wonder, whose mind is it? Is he in his mind? Is he in my mind? Whose thoughts are these? Are they his thoughts? Are they my thoughts? Or are they God's thoughts? And so as we come into divine mind, the quality and the nature of our thought is radically different. It doesn't have insecurity in it. It's fueled with this very subtle weight and power of intelligence. It's like, where does this intelligence come from? Now, in a very kind of paradoxical or even ironic kind of way, if you look at your thoughts, just like your normal everyday human thoughts, and you ask, well, where the heck do these thoughts come from? Like, where do these thoughts come from? Now, we tend to claim them. Our mask tends to claim them, say, these are my thoughts. But even the thoughts that come into our head, just our normal everyday thoughts, often these are just thoughts of the collective. And then we could say, well, some of them are thoughts of our conditioning, but the conditioning arises out of the collective. It arises out of our ancestors. I guess, like, where do those thoughts come from? So those thoughts come from one level of like human consciousness. And the invitation here with the divine mind is to allow yourself to be silent, allow yourself to just gently wipe away that which is untrue, and open and see if there is something else that begins to move, that begins to speak through you, that's not arising out of a state of insecurity. And again, I don't want anyone being too offended by that. Like, I can kind of feel some people being offended. Like, even like, there are aspects of your personality which are very pure and good and more connected to the truth. And so, of course, those thoughts are going to be more truthful, going to be deeper, more creative and intelligent. And so I can honor that. But the majority of what flows through people is nonsense. It's nonsense. It's just some desire for attention, a desire for grasping, a need to be seen, a need to be heard, a need to be this, a need to be that. There's this funny thing that happens, though, because all those are legitimate psychological needs. So I want to honor that. I don't want this talk to be lacking compassion. But when you see the truth of what you are, when you see your inherent divinity, when you see that which is awake, that which is awake and that which is aware within you, as this vibrant, fiery light, you see you. And this is deeply healing to our human psychology. Then the human psychology starts to plug into itself, into the depth of what it is. And it becomes rooted in truth and radiance and divinity, instead of being plugged into the mask, where it's rooted in insecurity and this woundedness and the, oh, poor me, and nobody understands me, and life isn't fair. When you step into this divine mind and you see what you are, there's this radical feeling of coming home, and it comes with a quality of strength, of power, of light, of brilliancy. That no longer has insecurity in it. Just it's like, I know what I am, for I am what I am. And what I am is all of life. All that is. All that is. And so if I speak a little bit more about, these qualities here of the divine mind, like the felt experience is one of brilliancy. A brilliancy. Like a radical sense of clarity. A radical sense of knowingness, not through having lots of thoughts about things. I had a little bit of a awkward moment yesterday. I was at the farmer's market and I saw someone who I knew. And I knew her quite closely. And she came up to me. She said, "Hi, Craig. It's so good to see you. Here's my partner." She introduced me to her partner. I was like, "Hey, hi." I had no idea what her name was. No idea. Zero. Completely empty mind. Totally blank, like awkwardly blank. And you know what guys do, and it's like, you don't know, it's like, "Hey man," or "Hey miss," or "Hey, what's up? Good to see you." We do that type of dance, but like no thought in the realm of a name. But I saw the fire, the divinity, the radiance pouring out of this individual. I knew exactly who they were. I knew their soul. I knew them intimately. I knew them inside and out. I knew the beauty, the vibrancy, the radiance of their being. But no name. No name. No name. No name. And this is one of those funny things that happens. And this is one of the reasons why our mind is terrified of emptiness. And the new thing now, because like everyone's on the internet, it's like there's been all this research that's come out in the last couple of years about early onset dementia. And so when people step into emptiness, they're like, "Oh my God, I have Alzheimer's. I have early onset dementia. There's something wrong with me." And we start Googling symptoms like, or we're stepping into Buddha nature. Or we're recognizing the vast, spacious silence of our being, the vast, spacious silence of all of life, and we're knowing it directly. And we're knowing it so directly and so substantially that often it wipes away all the thoughts in our mind. And again, it takes a while to learn how to function in this way. And I will tell you this, and no one's going to like this, but there can often be some very heavy, difficult, painful transitions that we go through as we begin to step into this brilliancy. And some people talk about like their brain being rewired, their mind being emptied out, their mind being erased. Like for me, when this was happening, it felt like there was like this halo that was starting to form around my head. And that may sound really wonderful. Oh my God, a halo. That sounds so sweet. Well, it came with horrific migraines that went on for years, pain, tension, points of incredible tension in the third eye, and then incredible spaciousness. And And, if any of you have ever spent any time directly around any great spiritual masters, you'll see often they suffered with headaches. I spoke to my friend Rick Archer this weekend just for a minute, but like one of the things that we've talked about is like, he's interviewed, I don't know how many great awakened spiritual teachers, 500 or so. And one of the things that, that he's seen and that I've seen over the years is like when you start to speak with these individuals intimately, they'll tell you, yeah, I've had headaches. I continue to have headaches. I mean, even tonight, like right before I teach, I tend to get like this pounding, grueling headache. And then as soon as I start to sit down a couple of minutes later, maybe right before, it lifts. And then the mind starts expanding out. And there's this feeling of being a transmitter of some sort. And so, the great Krishnamurti, he wrote a little bit about this. And again, like that insecure mask will say, oh, no, that shouldn't be the case. That means there's something wrong with the person, or they have some karmic thing, or they have blockages and this and that. At any point, as we're evolving, there tends to be a little or a lot of pain as a result of evolution. And again, like no one likes this teaching, but I'm a person who tells the truth. I don't sell BS in the spiritual world. I tell it how it is. How it is. Yeah, I've spoken many times with Adi about this. It's great pain, great headaches, great heartache, great difficulty with the physical body. And again, like people don't like to speak about this because it doesn't, like, oh, I don't want to go there. I want to go to Joe Dispenza where it seems like everything is easy and you just ride this raging bull to bliss and we're all going to be millionaires and we'll never age and we'll have our dream wife and maybe we'll be a movie star or something. I don't know. But, and again, like no offense to Joe, like his teachings are great, but like sometimes people teach in this way. It's like, it's all just ease and sweetness. And Aurobindo, he talked extensively about this, and his partner, the mother, spoke extensively, wrote volumes about as we open into these divine realms, there tends to be some level of physical transformation that is, I'll use this word, there's a word Aji used with me, very inconvenient, very difficult, very challenging. But when we come back to this basic question of what is the truth, like for me, like pain is irrelevant. Now it still hurts. I want to be crystal clear. Like human weight still hurts, but it's irrelevant. We could have human suffering in the realm of insecurity and just being a repetition of our father or our mother, a repetition of the internet, or be a reactivity to, someone upsetting you on the internet. Or we can choose to consciously evolve and to step into something greater. Now I can tell you, of course, if you step into something greater, there's a price to pay, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Doesn't even make sense. It's a whole other world. And at some point, some of us discover that there's something within us that is just choiceless. It doesn't matter if it hurts or not. Like the majority of the time I spent meditating with my teacher, it was painful. He was such a fiery light. He's such an intense light, such a evolutionary light. It was intense, radically intense. But I could not stay away. Could not stay away. Like many of you are here, you cannot stay away. And whether it's we want to be free of suffering, we want to know the truth, we just know there's a greater way to live. A greater way to live. And so, I'm going to invite you all to play with this. To play, which is just asking this question, well, what is the true mind. Like, what is my true mind? What is the true mind? You all know what your human, habitual, egoic mind is. You know what your inner judge is, your inner critic, the inner saboteur. Like, we all know, like, all these different aspects of our human psyche. But what is your divine mind? And do you allow it to speak through you, think through you? And again, like, divine thoughts, a lot of times, they don't necessarily form in words. They just come with this transmission, this flow. And as you step into this divine mind, your experience of yourself, your experience of your mind feels radically different. It's much more spacious, much more loving, much more strong, much more true, much more sane, much more brilliant, much more empty, much more empty. And again, like, I can remember, like, back to my childhood, when my girlfriend broke up with me, I just realized I am crazy. Like, this thinking mind is absolutely ridiculous and absolutely attached and absolutely addicted and absolutely a lunatic. And I cannot control myself. And I don't even know where these thoughts come from. It is nonsense. It is nonsense what goes through this mind. Nonsense. Nonsense. Some of us are just stuck in the nonsense of our like, I had this hilarious moment. My little girl is an Aries, and we were playing this weekend, and she started taking her head and just ramming it into the couch. And I'm like, child, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now keep in mind, she's ramming it into a cushion. Well, what are you doing? And she's like, Dad, I'm a ram. I'm a ram. I'm a ram. I'm like, yeah, you are a ram, sweetie. But you're more than a ram. Let's do something else. I don't want you to hurt your head. She's like, I'm having fun, Dad. And then she came over, started ramming her head into me. I said, okay, let's wrestle. How about that? Let's steer this energy in a different direction. And so we can be stuck in our programming of our astrological nature. Some of us are stuck in our programming of our Enneagram nature. Oh my God, I'm suffering. I'm suffering. I can't stop suffering. This is the worst. Poor me. My mom's dying. My sister's dying. My brother's dying. I lost my shoe. I'm the sufferer the most. And I'm just like, my Lord, can you step out of that hell world of I'm suffering? Can you just right now? Can you just right now? Like, I can't remember who it is, Byron Katie or Gangaji, maybe both of them. They just say, stop, 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 stop the chaos of I'm the best, I'm the worst. I've suffered the most. I've suffered the most. I'm going to keep emailing Craig, telling him how I've suffered the most out of anyone in the Sangha. I get these emails all the time. I've suffered the most. It's like, I'd love to give you a prize, but what I'd rather tell you is to stop. Stop. For about 4 years of my life, I was stuck in, should I do this or should I do that? Should I do this or should I do that? Should I do this or should I do that? I'm going to do that. Nope, I'm going to do this. Nope, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Hell realm. The hell realm. If any of you want to know, like, that one intimately, that is the Enneagram 9. When they're stressed, they spin into the unconscious nature of a 6, which is doubt. Here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there, here, there. Hell realm. It's a hell realm. It's a hell realm. And if you find yourself in a hell realm, part of being awake is saying, stop. Stop. Nope. Nope. No. Sometimes we have to say no outwardly. Sometimes we have to say no to ourselves. And when we say no to ourselves, then finally we can turn around and actually look at that which is awake and aware. And then we have a choice. I can go back into my hell realm, or I can choose to identify with that which is awake and aware. And when we do, we find this quiet sanity. This quiet sanity. And from this quiet sanity, we might discover a different type of mind, a different type of intelligence that will tell you how to respond to your body, how to respond to your life, how to walk forward in this world. And often it will respond with something very basic, like breathe, relax, let go, be done, be done. Sometimes it might just tell you, be me, be me, be this depth which you are, be this depth which you are, be this depth which you are, which you are. So I'm going to open it up to questions, but what I'd like you to see if you can write your question. Let's play with that tonight. Let's see if you have a question, see if you can write it in 1 or 2 sentences. See if you can bring whatever question is just into a quiet sense of clarity. In the meantime, I'm going to share something that Don shared with me. This is from Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo said, there's nothing the mind can do that cannot be done better in the mind's thoughtless, in the mind's thought-free silence. There's nothing the mind can do that cannot be done better in the mind's thought-free silence. See, that's the truth. That's the truth. And if anyone here has ever studied Aurobindo, like I once had a pile of Aurobindo books, it was like this high. It's just like, and he didn't think any of them through. He sat down with an empty mind and he just wrote. He was just this transmitter. And here's, Don also shared this to me, with me, excuse me. He said, this is Aurobindo. Aurobindo said he wrote the entire Life Divine simply as the force. The force. The mother moved his fingers on the typewriter without any thinking of the ordinary kind. All of his speaking and writing was like that. When a disciple asked for advice about what to read, he said the student could read all the books or no books, no matter. The Divine Mother will provide all the knowledge he needed. All the knowledge that the student needed. All the knowledge that was needed. And when we begin to stop looking to our insecure ego for advice, what should I do? Asking our insecure ego about what we should do, asking our inner critic, and how about this one? Asking our saboteur, how should I proceed? We've all done this. We know the outcome. Doesn't work out very good. But we could play a different game. A different game when we just ask this basic question: Lord, will you lead me? Will you guide me? Will you show me the way? Show me the truth in this situation. Show me which direction to go. Lead me on the higher path. We'll find something greater comes. Something greater comes. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Um, I'm laughing a little bit at these two questions. Craig, what is the highest teaching? I'm trying to deliver it, Kyle. I'm trying to deliver it here. I'm trying to deliver it. The highest teaching is this, is you become quiet and you ask the mother directly, what is the truth? What is the truth? And you let her show you your next step. So I don't like what is the highest teaching like? What's the better view? You know, like someone next was like, what's Jnana Yoga? Like the Jnana way, the Bhakti way. Like which one is the truth? Which one is higher? You know, the Yanis will say, well, Jnana Yoga is the highest. The Bhaktis will say, oh no, love is the highest teaching. Love is the highest. Love, of course, is the highest. Now, if we're, good Buddhists, will say, well, Vajrayana Buddhism is the highest. Mahayana Buddhism is the highest. Like these are all opinions, though. The highest is whatever your next step is. Whatever your next step is. Like a brilliant question is, what is in my way from receiving the higher teachings, the greater teaching? Like what's in my way? Because a lot of time it's our own ego, it's our own arrogance, our own pride, our own confusion, our own busyness, our own grasping. And so great questions. Well, is there anything in the way for me receiving the highest? Because I will tell you with great confidence, great clarity, that God is always trying to give us the highest. But most often, none of us are ready for it. None of us are ready for it. So God gives us our next step. And even that, we tend to sabotage. We tend to sabotage our next step. God says, just make this one step. We're like, okay, I hear that. But first, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to study polyamory first. I want to see what goes on with polyamory. I want to really know what that is. God's like, no, don't go there. Don't go there. Do this. Just commit to this one thing. Like, I'm going to go check out polyamory. It's just like, because people are crazy. People are crazy. We're addicted to chaos. We're addicted to confusion. We're addicted to things that are shiny. I want that. We're addicted to things that are shiny. It's a silly thing, it's like Lord of the Rings. We're addicted to things that are shiny. We're addicted to, we think, oh, there's an easier way. So God's telling me to do this one thing. But my ego is saying, I think there's something easier I could do instead. There's something easier I could do instead. Like, how often do we play that game? If you want to know the highest truth, open your heart, your mind to God, to the divine, to your next step. Okay, here's a phone. What is Jnana Yoga? Jnana Yoga. There's all these different schools of yoga. And so this one, tends to be translated as like a higher intellectual path. It's basically what I've taught tonight. And so if you want the answer to what is Jnana Yoga, this is it. This is what true Jnana Yoga is. Now, sometimes people look at it as a study of philosophy and Sanskrit and having all the, knowing what Maha Mudra is and this and that, and knowing what Mahasamadhi is or it's just like we have all these vocabulary words. Like with me, like I say the word samadhi, and then my brain freezes, it becomes empty. I begin to go into that state. So true jnana yoga is you know things directly, but how it's taught is you know it through the study, through philosophy, through the intellect. And again, the shadow of it is then it's just a mental philosophy. When you experience it directly, you know things through experiencing the thing directly. You know it. You have true wisdom. You know the tree through experiencing the tree. Like yesterday, I took the family. We went to the plant nursery, and I had a particular tree in mind. Like my neighbor has this tree, and it's a real beautiful tree. I was like, I want one of those in my yard. It's a beautiful tree. This beautiful purple kind of flower that hangs off it. And I got to the out to the nursery, and the lady's like, "Oh no, you want one of these other trees? You don't want that tree. It's weak." And my mind said, "Oh no, it's weak." I'm like, I don't want a weak tree. But I just walked around, and she said, "This is the tree you want." And I was like, "Okay," but I'm just going to walk around, and I felt into the trees. Actually, didn't even feel into the trees. I was just open. And then one tree said, "This one." It didn't say me. It had this quality of like, "Take me home. This is the truth. This is the truth. This is the truth." So I just felt this connection come from this tree. So I said, "Okay, this is the tree. This is the tree. This one here." Because it spoke out to me. So the intelligence of God spoke through the tree. And whether it's speaking to me, speaking to life, speaking to the two, at some point it all becomes this great non-dual soup of whose thought is it? Whose truth is it? Whose world is it? Whose life is it? Like, am I saving the tree and bringing it home, planting it in my yard? Or is it saving me? Is it claiming its home? Is it my tree, or is it its own tree? And it knows its home. It knows its yard. None of it's mine. And so again, as we step into the divine mind, we start to relate to life in this different type of way, this experiential way, this knowing way, where truth arises, not out of thought, not out of rationalization and this and that. It comes forward from the truth. Okay. Yeah, David writes, I've experienced loving interactions with trees. Trees love people. Yeah. 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 Okay. There was something else I wanted to say there, but I lost it. Craig, how can we have control over our physical symptoms when our mind and body are not listening to us so we can carry out our daily activities in life comfortably? Yeah. And so your question it comes forth with a lot of thoughts, a lot of different directions here. The two words I don't like in the question are control and comfortably. So the invitation I'm going to invite for you, Mira, is, again, the question is, how can we have control over our physical symptoms when our mind and our body are not listening to us so we can carry out our daily activities? It may not be that the mind and body is not listening to you, but rather we are not listening to it. We are not listening to it. Now, we can listen in many different ways. Now, I'm going to say a little silly story about tonight, but tonight we Finally got some rain here in Durango. I think it's been like 2 months since it's rained. It's a little ridiculous, maybe even more. But some thunder rolled in. And I have a little girl who is terrified, absolutely terrified of lightning and thunder. Just absolutely terrified. And so when she's listening from a fearful, insecure ego. She listens from a place of panic. She listens from this thought that lightning is going to strike her dead. I'm just like, my Lord child, relax, breathe, relax. We're inside our home. Rain is good. We need rain. We want rain. Like, we need rain, or we're going to start catching on fire here in Durango. Like, we need the rain. Let's praise the rain. So I listen to thunder and lightning, and I love it. I'm like, thank God. Thank God. I'm listening from a place of truth, from a place of love, from a place of intimacy. I love the lights, the power, the fire of it. I'm not looking for any lightning strikes to create a forest fire, but I want the lightning and the rain. But I'm listening with an open heart. And so, Mira, I want you to see if you can listen to your body from a place of love. And my dear, we spoke the other day, your body has a tremendous amount of fear in it. And when we have fear, we can look at fear and say, this fear is false and it's not the truth. I'm rising above it. But there's a good chance that won't work. What fear needs is for you to breathe deeply first into the fear, to relax the fear, just to relax the fear first. Because again, like even like the thought of control, the questions about control, like the idea of control arises out of fear. But what I would like instead is for us to meet fear with love and strength. And so you have to breathe deeply and find a place of strength within the body, a place of love within the body. And these two qualities of love and strength, and then let's invite clarity. So the clarity is to stay out of your mind. Because when we're in fear, we tend to be up in our mind. We have racing thoughts of, I need to fix, I need to control, I need to hurry up, I need to get all these activities done. This isn't fair, this isn't right, this is too much, I can't handle this. Again, that's a hell world. We need to say stop to those thoughts and breathe deeply, lovingly, and teach our body that it's safe to relax. Like what we were doing with my little girl. She came in my office. She was coloring. I was like, go to my office. We'll be in here. She put like this little mat on the floor and we're rubbing her back. We're teaching her to breathe. Like, you can be with daddy. Like, being with daddy is connecting to strength. Seeing that daddy's relaxed. And so, Mira, let's call upon the Divine Mother to be with you, to be strong. So you may recognize strength. But you need to learn how to breathe deeply and fully 100 times, 1,000 times. Deep, full breaths, staying completely out of the thinking mind. And as your nervous system calms down, what you'll find is a lot of your physical symptoms will disappear. When the nervous system is in a place of utter fear, then symptoms just start going crazy. They start going crazy because that's actually your body screaming at you, telling there's something isn't right. And what's not right is we're in a fearful state of mind. So first, we just need to breathe. And I want you to imagine 10,000 deep breaths without any thinking. And another 10,000 deep breaths where you're holding the body that has come out of alignment with the truth, that is having these physical symptoms. And we're breathing a quiet sense of love. So first, we need to breathe peace. Next, we need to breathe love. And it's okay to do both these at the same time. Breathe in peace. I breathe in love. I breathe out anxiety and I soften soften. I retrain my nervous system. I retrain my nervous system. I retrain my nervous system, and I stay in the truth. I stay in the truth. Okay. All right. Hold on. The mirrors are right. Greg, why do I have so much fear? So again, this is where I want to stop you. I want to just stop you. You have a lot of fear, my dear, because you have a lot of chaos in your body. Whether it's kundalini chaos, whether it's you're taking care of your mother and she's elderly and struggling in life. But again, I don't want you to go into why. Like sometimes if we start having, why do I have all this fear? We start listing all of our fears. It can get worse. I want you to stay out of the why. I want you to stay in the response. And the response, simply one thing. Can you breathe without thinking? You need something to think about? I want you to think about, how does my belly feel? And can I just stay with the felt sensations within my belly? Deep, full breath, and see with each and every breath, can we dissolve this fear? And so we can all play this, while we end here this evening. I want us all just to close our eyes and just to notice, what is it that I struggle with in my mind? What is the thing that I'm insecure about? And can we just invite it forward? And just giving yourself permission just to breathe deeply and fully into this. Softening, connecting to a quiet sense of strength and power. As we breathe in and breathe out. Seeing clearly that I don't need to fix, I don't need to judge, I don't need to sabotage, I don't need to control. I don't need to think, I just need to breathe. And with each breath, stepping more deeply into the silence, stepping more deeply into Buddha nature. With each inhale, breathing in a deep and profound sense of peace and truth. With each exhale, deeply letting go. Deeply letting go. Deeply letting go of that which is untrue, stepping into that which is the truth. That which is the truth. And so with that, I'm going to invite you all to continue breathing, softening, opening, dissolving, letting go that which is untrue, and inviting a greater truth, a greater divinity, a greater state of awakened consciousness to come online. And so much love to each and every one of you. For those of you joined late, there's a retreat coming up at the end of August. Please sign up. We'd love to have you. And in the meantime, well, good night, everyone. May peace be with you. May your hearts be open. May you be deeply and fully blessed. Good night.